beyond the code, the things that you will find in our classroom, I've broken it down into kind of 3 categories. One is the mentorship. And I think that what's important when you think about mentorship is that it is so much more than, you know, going out and finding a mentor, because there's so many different types of mentorship. And in our community, we've been able to offer those to a lot of our students. You find mentorship with your instructors that are in the classroom, that are there working with you. We try and almost always have a 10-to-1 ratio in our classroom, which is a really high ratio, especially for adult learning, so that we can really instill that idea that they are here to help mentor you through the process. The other places are with our community members, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next section, but also with your fellow classmates. Some of the things that we found are most successful students and cohorts are the cohorts that really find that support together and that they're lifting everyone up. And so we do a lot of different things to really create the camaraderie in the classroom so that you can all work together, help each other, and create that mentorship within each other. And then the other part we have is with our alumni network. So we have, we're, I think, moving this year into having at least 400 alumni this year. And so that's a lot of different people that you'll get to connect with and that are there for you. When you come into our program, we use Slack to communicate. All of our alumni are on Slack. And so it's a great way to interact with them, ask advice. If you're stuck on problems, you can post them in Slack and communicate in that way, which these days has been even more valuable that we've been, everyone's remote and that we're all at home, so that we've built these systems that we had even before going into quarantine, that people can rely on different ways to connect with each other. And so we've created a system that's already in place for you to talk to alumni and be there and use them as a source as well. But I do think that it's important to see that in mentorship, having different types of mentoring relationships is really going to help you to learn and grow as a developer, so that you're not just always the mentee, but that you also become the mentor, even if that's just for a small, for within your cohort, or that's something that you do later on as alumni, that you then become the mentors for people going through the class after you, that it cements your learning and creates that foundation that makes you a really strong developer. So the second part of our classroom is the community. And this by far is the part that I am probably the most proud of. When anyone asks me about what is the most meaningful thing for me when it comes to learn is the people. Building your network is key to making a career change. So connecting with other people, whether it's outside of the Learn community or within our network of alumni, is really important. So some of the things that we do to help support that is that we bring in community members throughout the course to give talks, so that you get an opportunity in a small setting with just your cohorts and this other people to meet other people within the community and make those connections. We also do a lot of meetups and not just hosting them, but also going to them, so that we can make sure that we're connecting you with other people within the community, and supporting other groups, whether that's in Slack, which is mostly these days, or in events themselves. And so the more that we can do, the more things we can do to be constantly connecting you with more people, either through our connections at Learn or within other groups and different people, it will just help you to build that network, so that when you're looking for that job, that community is there to support you, because that is really what's going to make those connections and get you to into those jobs. So the last part I want to talk about is the idea of the dev tools and the dev processes that we integrate, not just teaching you, but integrate it into our curriculum and into our process into teaching. So some of the things that we do throughout our cohort are things like pair programming, which is not just something that is a great tool to use in your job, that a lot of different companies use pair programming, especially as juniors, to really instill some of the tasks and things like that. But for us, it is a great teaching tool as well, that when you're pair programming, you let me take a step back for those that don't know what pair programming is. Pair programming is two people working on one project. In some cases, it's only one computer, but in other cases, it's simply two people that are working together on one project. So one person is usually doing the driving, which means they're the ones that are typing out typing out the code, and the other person is the navigator, which is the one that is giving the direction, looking at the bigger picture, kind of guiding the conversation. And because of those two roles, you are speaking your code, you are tactily typing out your code, you're listening to code, so you're hitting all these different senses, which then allows you to retain information better. We know that if you are able to teach, that will just help you to instill the information even more. So pair programming is a great opportunity for you to, if you know something that your partner doesn't, if you're able to explain it to them, that's just going to instill the information even more and help you to be a better teammate and a better programmer along the way. So that's one of the things that we focus on when we come to like the dev tools and the processes. We also adapt a lot of our agile methodology, which is a way of managing a project. And so we adopted a lot of those just in our teaching techniques and through our curriculum. So in a normal dev experience, you would start out your week with some planning. And then throughout the week would do something called stand-up, which is when you come together as a group and you talk about what you're working on today, what you worked on yesterday, and if you have any blockers. And so that's the stand-up. And then at the end of the week or the end of a 2-week sprint, you would come together and do a retrospective where you look back on the week and was like, okay, what was working, what didn't work, what are our blockers, what things do we need to change? And so that's a very standard methodology that people use in the dev world. And we try and model our classroom out of that. Because the idea is at Learn, we want the time in your classroom to look a lot like your internship, so that when you go from our classroom, it's not foreign. The things that they're doing aren't foreign techniques, and you feel comfortable communicating with other developers. And then from there, from the internship, it looks a lot like that first job. So that training of what it's like to actually be a developer, to talk to other developers, to use the other communication tools. Our curriculum is all built in GitHub, which is a common tool for developers in communicating and working on a project. And so we use that as our actual curriculum. So you are doing those things throughout the course, so that when you go into those jobs, you are valuable to the company on that very first day, because you have learned all the methodology and dev tools that go along with that.